Because it's funny because social engineering is not something that is a very common thing to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like you can talk about social engineering with certain people, and then people will kind of get it. For those who are aware of what social engineering is. So it's like, hey, social engineering is real, blah blah blah. But it's crazy because at the end of the day, it's like, damn, why not just look it up? Find out if I say social engineering, that should be motivation enough to go out there and say, okay, I'm about to go out here and try to look for this. I need to find out what he means by Tavistock Institute. What does he mean by the Committee of the 300? What does he mean by silent weapons for quiet wars? What does that mean? Like, where is he getting this from? Peace, Hotep, Morris, Hotep, Jamal, Peace Jamal, Rahul Ranu. And there's a need for that because we're socially engineered by watching television. It's a television show that you would not normally watch on a consistent basis. You watch it now. The Walking Dead, for the most part, is something that most of us, I'm just giving examples of social engineering, which is a very light way to socially engineer people. The Walking Dead. You are socially engineered to look at a zombie apocalyptic zombie story as something to watch every week. It's like a soap opera now. You look at it every single week. Reading right now, Nash, looking into social engineering forces people to look at themselves. Exactly. But we don't know thing is that, as I said before, 90% of the subconscious is controlled by the media. And the medium that puts out the media is television. And see, now it's not so much just television anymore. People are on the internet all the time. And they can be, let's say, for example, you can go online, like right now, you can be on Facebook, and then you can be advertised to based upon the things that they know you like. Like if you're an online shopper, they'll put other stuff in your face that they know is related to what you get. And so the next thing is, oh man, let me go ahead and get this. Man, let me go ahead and get that, Shoot, I might not usually be into this, but hey, Hotep Afi. And for the most part, like just as I said before, it's things that we normally are not into, that the longer they show it to you, eventually you're going to either look at this show or you're going to buy that product. It's like, for example, a decade ago, people didn't know who the Kardashians was unless you did your research on Robert Kardashian's connection to O.J. Simpson. Then all of a sudden, the sex tape with Ray J comes out and everybody knows who the Kardashians are, the younger generation. And so everybody in the world started looking at, the Kardashian shows. We went from looking at Keeping Up with the Kardashians to you had the Khloe and Kardashian to you had the I think it was Kim and Khloe, or Kim and Courtney, and then you had Lamar and Khloe. I mean, we watched every single show because we were socially engineered to watch it. You know what I'm saying? We never stopped and thought like, wow, I'm being engineered to like something that I would not normally like. I don't like white people, but now I'm tuning in to look at white people that have more money than I do, that are able to make sex tapes, and now they get famous off of sex tapes. So it's funny because we don't even look at it from that angle that. Excuse me, family. We don't look at it from the angle that, wow, we're being engineered to like something. From food, people like certain things based upon what is pushed in their face several times. Every time we turn around, it's like, for example, social. The word social means something that is like around you. It's a multitude of things around you. In one environment, it's like a difference of something. Social, I'm very social. Yeah, that means that, like, for example, like Africans were engineered to be socialists. You know, we were never monolithic in terms of culture, but in terms of people, we stayed amongst ourselves. Post-colonialism, we became socialists in terms of Africans. That's why over here, when you have Africans who come over here, they are socialistic in mindset. They may be Christian or Muslim. Most of them are going to be Muslim, but they don't mind connecting themselves to white people, to Arabs, to Asians, to Latina. But then when it comes to you as Black Americans, it's like they're like side-eyed. Some of them treat Black Americans worse than white people do. But that's funny. But they became so socialized that, again, when they come over here, they have no problem being influenced by everything else going on. Because let's just take homosexuality for a second. If you look into African culture, and I dare people to give me the actual tribes, ancient African tribes prior to European intervention, that you had homosexuality in all forms, whether it be male homosexuality or lesbianism, stud culture, whatever it is. Can you show me any ancient African cultures where that's going on? Now, you can go into Africa right now and see homosexuality, stud culture, lesbianism. These are all these things that's going on right now post European intervention. And see, we never talk about this. We immediately just say, oh, what it is, it's always been there, but you never give the proof of how it's always been there. People never give that proof. And so whenever you ask for proof, people get emotional. That's another form of social engineering. We get very emotional when it comes to homosexuality now. Something that we really was not, even prior to slavery. And see, if you look into the Black community, we're very emotional about hiding certain things. There's a bunch of open secrets in the Black community. And so what's really funny is when it's time to talk about, let's say, if a child was violated, nobody wants to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Whenever something that's really bad happens to children, all of a sudden it becomes a child's fault. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, a lot of us Black Americans, to tie this in, we grew up in the Black church. The Black church was really dominated and controlled by the slave master first. They made sure that when they had the pastor, the Black pastor, that he was saying, was really sad is, rather than dealing with it, again, we pretend it never happened so that we can say the same thing that whites say, oh, I was born this way. Nothing ever happened to me, so I don't know what you're talking about. Yet it's funny because then you go into the prison culture, it's the same thing. Black males being raped on a consistent basis, being turned out and being forced into, homosexual situations while they're incarcerated. And even though you have Michelle Alexander, who wrote the book about, mass incarcerations, when it comes time to the sexual situations, people pretend that that's not going on. The same, but it's sad that on a real level, it's not talked about as much in the Black church, because the Black church would maim Black boys. Even if you go into the choirs, a lot of them, us now, a lot of these homosexuals that were in the choir, they were maimed into being eunuchs to keep the high pitch going. But a lot of them, again, were being sexually assaulted and molested for years. So thing is, a lot of us, again, us as Black people are socially engineered to accept damn near everything that we do. Everything that we do is something that we're being told, you must like this, you must like this, this is what you must put on. You must not buck away from it, you must not buck against it, you must not establish your own indigenous African culture. You must accept the fact that you've been enculturated by white supremacy and by Europeans, that this is the way you must live your life. Regardless of what you learn, you will always revert back to what we gave you because we are your God. And we don't want to get to the point where we say, damn, like this is real. Because all these challenges, even when we go to the ice bucket challenge, before I even go to the switch I forgot what it was called, but the switch challenge, you know, the switching clothes, the switch challenge. I don't know the whole name, but I'm just giving you an idea because we know what it is. But ice bucket challenge. You had black people dousing themselves with ice over their heads for a disease that most blacks don't even have. You know, it's funny. We was dousing our heads with a cracker disease, the MS disease. I'm like, how many blacks do you see with MS running around here other than, what was it, Richard Pryor? If I'm wrong, let me know. If I have the wrong disease, let me know. But I know when the disease was, when we were doing this, I realized it had nothing to do with us. Remember, we were, again, that's social engineering. We were being socially engineered to do what? Be controlled and to raise money for something that has nothing to do with us. Nothing at all. And see, what's funny is my father, Dr. York, talked about social engineering for several years. You know, he was called crazy. You have, you know, Dr. Delbert Blair talked about social engineering, you know, to control MK Ultra, MK Delta for years. He's being called crazy. You have Professor Griff talking about MK Ultra, MK Delta, mind control. Is even a movie out that I saw last night called Cell that's dealt heavily with MK Ultra, MK Delta in the cell phone to be able to control the thank you, Roger Nash. Lou Gehrig's disease. How many black people did you see with Lou Gehrig's disease? And we sit there dousing our eyes. I mean, we're dousing our head. I seen this the singer Lettucey, beautiful sister Lettucey, throwing ice over, doing an ice bucket challenge, and you don't see no blacks dealing with no damn Lou Gehrig, having no Lou Gehrig's disease. But we make sure we do it, though. We make sure that we do the bidding of white people. And that's reality. We know it's social engineering at that point. You're being told this is what you must do. They push out a challenge for you to do and you accept it. Assalamu alaikum, Jelani Hadi. And that's the sad part, is that you're getting to a point where you're not even, it's no longer an unaware subconscious thing. It's you're now accepting the fact that they're telling you what to do. That they're saying, this is what you must do, so you do it. And you don't even fight against it. If I tell you that the same people who lobbied for gay marriage are, again, lobbying for pedophiles to be known as minor attracted people. Right? Every time I talked about the B4U Act, nobody even looked at that video or even dealt with that class. But the B4U Act is real. And see, what's funny is you have all these situations that went on. I just looked at a video by Professor Griff. It talked about Pizzagate. You know, it was actually meeting up at a pizza shop and they had coded words to describe little boys and girls. And our children were involved in this. This is in D.C. Barack Obama knew about this. And it's funny because everybody who talked about Pizzagate got shut down. Let's see what Afi says. White folks not pouring water on themselves for sickle cell. Hell no. Fuck out of here. White folks will never put themselves in a compromised position for black people. Unless it's a collective interest to save themselves. So they'll never do no shit like that. Like even when I had someone like to say to connect to what Afi saying, the things that we do to help white people, they wouldn't do to us. They wouldn't do for us. White people will sit up here and march with you as long as they know that this makes them look good in the world's eye. It's all strategic for them. See, that's still part of white codification, that I have to make sure that I look good in the world's eye. I look good in the perception of the world. Because if I show that there's a war between whites and black people, then there's going to be some world leaders saying, well, shit, I don't know if I want to get involved with all of this. I mean, you know, America's cool and all, but y'all infighting, having a civil war amongst your blacks, and you can't control what's going on. So I have to make sure that when we do these photo ops and you got white people marching saying hands up, don't shoot, it looks good because then it shows that, you know, whites and blacks are together. In reality, we're not. 9 times out of 10, you won't even speak to a cracker on the street. And they won't even speak to your ass. but most of them at the end of the day is plotting to find out a way that they can get rid of us, and that's reality. But going to what we were saying, they constantly putting out these challenges, social engineered challenges. And I dare you all to go online and look up. I'm going to go into this now, and this is part of what I'm going to talk about tonight is silent weapons for quiet wars. And this is what I'm going to go into later is going to give you an idea of why I'm telling you to go online and look up silent weapons for quiet wars. There's a reason why I'm telling you to do that. But anyway, just think about the fact that they could push out a challenge whenever they feel like it and we just run with it. They push out dances and we run with that. They make sure that they get their coons that they call rappers now to go out and make a dance up or do a song that literally nowadays is not even real rap or hip hop no more. It's like legally retarded music. But we still follow it. We haven't even gotten to the point where we say, I'm not following that no more. It sounds stupid. But you get into your car and you might not have a CD on, or you might not have, your iPod somewhere for the auxiliary. So you turn the radio on. Next thing you know, you bop into it. So you just got caught into the social engineering because the money to put these radio stations together, you already know where they're coming from. They're coming from the elites. They're coming from the Rockefellers and the rest of them. Rothschilds. So let's just keep it real. But the challenges are, again, these are measuring sticks for how much can I control the world's population? How much can I control these human beings? And more specifically, how long are we able to still control black people's minds? Because you notice we're the first ones to jump on and do these challenges. When we did the mannequin challenge, every time I turn around, this is say most of the time when I went online, I go on Instagram, I saw most of the challenges by blacks and Latinos. I saw some whites too, but for the most part, blacks and Latinos, because we're the most socially engineered out there, specifically black people. We're the most socially engineered out there for everything that goes on. We are the most. And to the fact that they can get you to just stand still for like 15 to 30 seconds, however long it is, I'm just looking at that crackers still have that much control over black people's minds that they can get you to stand still for no apparent reason. With everything going on, black genocide, poisoning the water, getting black people getting shot in the street on a daily basis, public hangings being shown every single day, but you have the time as a Negro to stand there and do a mannequin challenge. You are full of shit. Period. I'm sorry, but you're full of shit for doing that. So now we go down into the switch challenge, the between role reversals. That's why it's called role reversals. And before I even go into this, the reason why you go into Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, and you read that document, it's talking about how the Rockefellers wanted to find a way to control the families, the human population families. They wanted to. This is around the 60s and 70s when the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars was being talked about, but it was put into fruition during the 70s and 80s. And the main thing was, if you remember, in the women's liberation movement, which was really engineered by Nicholas Rockefeller. And Nicholas Rockefeller is one of the youngest Rockefellers who still is running certain things. He's also the man that is responsible for 9/11. And this is, the source of what I'm saying is Aaron Russo, the same man that put together Trading Places. And people don't know, Trading Places was really nothing but a play on Lord Rothschild and David Rockefeller. Look at the movie again. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, how they can socially engineer, take away their son who was wealthy and put a Negro in their place. That's all that the movie was about, But going into what I'm talking about, it's in Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. The reality is that they wanted to find a way to, because they were really quoting from the women's liberation movement, which was again socially engineered by Nicholas Rockefeller, because they needed the women of the population. They needed them to work and they also needed them to pay taxes. So they were, prior to women's lib, they were missing a certain amount of money from the female. They remember most of the time when you saw prior to the 60s and 70s, most of the time when you saw women go out and do shopping, you had a man with them. And so according to Silent Women for Quiet Wars, when they put together women's lib, they said the main reason why we wanted to put together women's lib was to be able to control the currency of females as well. So they only was able to control male currency. But if we put in women's lib, we can control female currency. And so when you have that type of situation, see, specifically, you had a confusion within, let's say, the white family. But subconsciously within them, white women are now controlling the family. Subconsciously, because they're the ones that's now the big spenders. And a lot of them now are the ones with the corporate jobs. Even though white males are still the dominant, those that are over the currency of the white family subconsciously is the white woman. But overtly, in the black family, the black woman is the one controlling everything. And this was social engineering, this social engineered situation, because you have to realize, and when Kimmy Rad, tell me, brother, when I'm finished editing your documentary, we need to do another one ASAP. Oh, no doubt, Kimmy. That's what's up. Anytime, any place. You know how we do it. And so going back to what I was saying, when you deal with the black family, remember the black family was destroyed during slavery. The two main things that we lost during slavery was what? Organization and education. We could not educate ourselves, and we could not organize during slavery. And so the main thing we couldn't organize was our family. So when you break down a black male, when you buck break him, when you beat him to death in front of his family, subconsciously what happens to the African woman is that, wow, she's looking at that like, well, damn, I don't have no man no more, so I'm here by myself. That's step one, Willie Lynch. Step two is when you go into looking at the 60s and 70s, when you have the drug errors that come in and cripple the black family. So now the cops, who was once the slave catchers, are now controlling your family and now controlling the African male's freedom. So now he can be responsible for whether the African male is free or not, whether he is on drugs, whether he and she is on drugs, the African male, African woman. And the police are now, with the war on drugs, they're able to put us black males in, to incarcerate us in mass numbers, still social engineered. And so you go into the 80s with the crack era, same situation, even worse than the cocaine and the heroin era of the 70s. 80s come in, crack era, so therefore the black family is even more destroyed, because now you have more single parent homes, black women. And so this is still controlled by the Rockefeller Rothschilds, but more specifically the Rockefellers, because the whole thing is the enemy of whites is blacks. And they already, the thing is, this was already designed in the 1920s and 30s with the elites, with not just with the white elites, Rockefeller, Rothschilds, and Carnegies, but then the black elites of the Boule. And the main person responsible for this control currency and the control of the black race by the Rockefellers was none other than W.E.B. Du Bois, as well as the Talented Tenth. They're the ones that signed off on all these different moves. And so, again, going into the 80s, black people have no control over their family anymore, because we're in warfare. All these different war on drugs, putting black women having to be on welfare, black women having to be on, having to depend on the government for government aid, and black men being in prison in large numbers. These are war tactics. So people who complain about black men not being in the homes do realize we're trying to recover from war tactics for the past 40 years, still socially engineered. And you have social engineering that goes on in the situation of, the main medium, which is television, that depicts black women as what? Welfare moms, single parent homes, all this other stuff. They can't get right a woman. She's a slut. She can't, she's having these children out of wedlock, all these different things. And then the black man is, well, maybe he's inherently violent. These are studies that they were doing in the early 80s. Is the black man inherently violent? And so these are, again, socially engineering. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Again, please look up that documentary, that document. And the thing is that they were able to change the gender roles that was already set in place, that we were trying to recover from slavery. They were able to again reverse the roles, even though it was already a damage from slavery. We were trying to do whatever we could to reverse that role. Since, during desegregation and then going into the 70s and 80s, I realized the African woman is by herself. She's defending by herself. So now the white males can now step in and now say, okay, well, shoot, I tell you what, we give you these student loans, we give you these financial aids, you do whatever you can to graduate, we'll give you this corporate job. Even if you just get certified in whatever it is, as a black woman, you're certified, so you get that good job. You understand? I tell you what, you don't see no black man around. Where's your black man? So your black man is gone. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to jobs on higher levels, black women now are the ones that's controlling the currency of the family, because there is no man. And even if he is around in the home, he's not going to have a good paying job to be able to be the protector and the provider of his home. So the roles are being reversed. So now men are no longer alpha, and now the women are no longer looking for the men to be the leader. They've now become the leaders. I'm not saying that women can't lead. What I'm saying is that women, for the most part, African women, look for men to be what they reflect from. And so when you're not being the alpha, eventually she no longer respects you. There's a difference between love and respect. People don't understand that. You can love a woman can love you all day and not respect you because you're not providing for her anymore. So she has to take on the dominant role of the house because you can't do it anymore. And it's not being, the thing is, all the social engineering going on and all the warfare going on our black family, none of that is being taken into consideration. It's just being seen as if black men just can't get right, or maybe we are socially not there to do it. Maybe we just don't want to take care of our responsibility. And this is socially engineered in the media to be told this is what we are. So this is the reversal of the roles has already taken place from the 80s and going down into the 90s, where now the black woman is now the independent woman, which that concept itself was actually taken from the Willie Lynch letter. That's the most pertinent piece of the Willie Lynch letter, is how to make an independent black woman. You understand? You make the woman think that she is by herself by destroying the black man. Plain and simple. That's why, if you notice, black women are the only ones right now saying, I'm independent. No other race of women now are saying, I'm an independent woman. Can't no man tell me what to do. I can do it on my own. Yet that comes from the Willie Lynch letter itself. Not saying Willie Lynch even existed, but the letter is pertinent because we're still dealing with the same problems to this day. And so now when you have situations where, for the most part, blacks have a culture where they're not, I'm talking about, let's say, black culture where it's church, where it's certain values. You get socially engineered to no longer have values, but the people can tell you what your values are. And then, the powers that be, elites or whatever you want to have you, which the main people are the Rockefellers, they can tell you, I tell you what, every black woman should have a gay friend. Because think about it, for a long time, you didn't see that too much. Now, you had homosexuality in the black community, since 30s and 40s when they had the Harlem Renaissance. That was real. You had that there, even though that's still left over again from slavery. But yet, at one point, you have to realize the first people that they had to get, in order to get black people to really accept homosexuality, the first group they had to get to accept it was black women. Think about it. And as you know, remember it was also a phase where every black woman wanted to be bisexual. It was in the 90s going into 2000s. And then you have black men, and this is, again, socially engineered. If you look within most black men, most of us learn sex through porn. We learn sex through porn. We don't learn sex through, African-centered education or how to respect a woman or how to treat a woman sexually. We learn sex through European constructs, because watching porn in itself is sexual insanity. The fact that you're sitting down watching someone else have sex in front of you, which most of it is like a forceful situation, that's sexual insanity right there. So you're pretty much being told to how you're going to go about doing something with someone who's supposed to be a natural counterpart. So again, you're being, through porn, socially engineered on how to have sex with someone who you came out of, and who is your natural counterpart. So we're not even being taught on what sex really is anymore. So when you're dealing with homosexuality again, you got to remember, again, remember, most of black men, when you ask them about doing a threesome, we be like, oh man, that's our fantasy. How did you get to the point of saying this is your fantasy? Who taught you that was supposed to be your fantasy? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying, if you notice, most of us ask that. When you ask us, okay, well, I want 3 women. I want 2 women at least. I want 2, I want to make sure my girl get another one and this and that. And it's like, where did you get the idea from that this is what you're supposed to do? Who taught you that? Like, who taught you that that's what the fantasy of a black man or as a man is, to have more than one woman in a situation, which at the end of the day is still a form of, in a lot of situations, lesbianism. At what point was it attractive for a black man to want to accept a bisexual woman? And are you saying that bisexual women are naturally brought that way? Are you saying that? Because truthfully, that's not even the case. That's not the case. If that's the case, you might as well say women are natural lesbians too. They just decide to have sex with men. And there's a lot of people who teach that too, and that's not historically accurate at all. It's not true. So you have to, again, if you go back, the main people in the black race that they had to get to accept commercially homosexuality was black women. That's why after a while, if you notice, black women, every time you turn around, when you ask them, every black woman has some form of gay friend that's their best friend, some gay black man, whether it be in a church, from their church, or be from their school, from college. In some form, they have that gay friend element. And it's very weird, because a lot of them value that gay male friend more than their husband, more than their boyfriend, more than their male companion. But this is situations that they know that, look, and you got to realize that they put these in TV shows for the most part. It's TV shows that promoted this. You had to have a gay friend somewhere. And even it's like white shows. You had situations in Friends where you had gay friends in somewhere in these certain shows. You had sitcoms, The Big Bang Theory, gay friends within the show. So it's social to accept this, because again, you see whites doing it. So if you see whites doing it, then it has to be accepted, because your slave master is doing it, because at the end of the day, you see life through white people, or you strive to see everything based upon what they do. And so at the end of the day, you don't want to see things from a black perspective, because you don't know what a black perspective is, because the black perspective has been enculturated out of you. It has been replaced by a white perspective. So when you see television shows, you don't see the indoctrination, and you don't know how to codify or decode the television show or the movie. You just accept it. That's why, after a while, if you notice, when a lot of black women go to it's like, let's say, for example, hair salons. Good example is hair salons. Most hair salons, you have a homosexual black man that's like the companion while he's doing the black woman's hair. He's basically solving her problems better than her man is. So heterosexual black men are being replaced by homosexual black men in the most intimate settings. Because notice, one of the most intimate things you can do for a woman is be able to do her hair. Notice a lot of black men don't take the time to do a woman's, it's just stuff that we don't do, but we're being replaced by homosexuals who do it, who they say, well, they're more thoughtful than you are. You understand what I'm saying? So these are things that are taught, that this is what goes on and this is what it is. So the black woman has accepted really more the homosexual black man as being her counterpart, really more than the black man, more than the heterosexual black man, because she only sees that man as just a way to have a child. So he's no longer her companion in any way, shape, or form. It's just, I'm just someone that you put up with for the time being. You understand? Or unless once you get back with your homosexual friend, or you get back with your other black female friend, who a lot of times is now more of a companion to her than me, as her natural counterpart, her natural African male counterpart. These are things that we're able to see, but we don't point it out. We just, pretend that this is normal. Again, social engineering will get you to see things that are normal that is actually alien to us as African people. And so we're going down into the switch challenge, where black men were, not just black, but just males and females can switch their role in terms of clothes. Now, if you look at a lot of the challenges that you're able to see online, they're not just switching clothes, they're switching attitudes, they're switching positions, they're switching like demeanors. All these things have now been accepted by African people as the norm. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is something that Dr. Welsing had talked about, author of the ISIS papers, for years, that we will now start seeing men in dresses. It's also going back to the Elohim, a New Covenant tape by my father, Dr. York, that talked about you will at some point not be able to tell a male from a female. So now, because the stud culture is now normal to us as African people, when historically it's not even something that is really who we are, because again, we were heavily enculturated in Africa through colonialism, and then slavery, where a lot of lesbian culture was introduced to us. Then you also have, if you deal with stud culture to this day, contemporary, a lot of it happens in centralized ghetto situations, where women that were not in relationships in one instance end up trying to become a man by trying to be both roles at the same time. Then you have women who are also molested that hate black men. A lot of them were molested by men, but then they turn around and put on men's clothes. So a lot of these women are also sexually confused, because a lot of them can switch their roles back to being feminine whenever they feel like it, which at the end of the day, that's gender confusion. So the switch challenge is actually also continuing to socially engineer sexual confusion amongst our people, so that at some point, because that's why you see so many transsexuals, transgenders all over the place who are sexually confused. A lot of these people were sexually assaulted at some point. There is a study that talks about this online, but we want to pretend this did not happen. We want to say everything, again, is natural and normal, because, again, we've been socially engineered to accept things as if it was our own, without doing further research on what social engineering is. And so the aftermath of the switch challenge is that now it is in your face that at the end of the day, we can control your sex whenever we choose to. We can control how you see yourself. We can control you, black man, when you decide to put on a dress or not. You don't even have control over your own sexuality, over your own masculinity. We have control over it. Counterpart, African woman, you don't have control over your sex. We do. You were never in control of your sex. We were. You understand? Hotep, Ben Mystique. And Again, you were not in control of your sex. You were not even in control of your best friends. We socially engineered your best friends for you. Matter of fact, we socially engineered you to basically accept any form of gender role we choose for you to have. You understand what I'm saying? So at this point, when we decide for you to take off feminine clothes and put on masculine clothes, you will do so because we say so. You understand? And because we say so, then this is what it's supposed to be. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is going on now. You actually are witnessing the genocide of African people right in front of you. And it's crazy because when Dr. Welsing talked about this for years, she was called pseudo, she was called crazy by us, not just by whites, by black people. After she died, the week after she died, she was being talked about by black feminism, by black feminists. Excuse me. They wouldn't even allow her to get buried before they talked about her like that. Again, Lori, they control how we think. They control how we see ourselves. They control exactly what is sex to us. They control what is sexy to us. And we don't even see that. We don't see that. So now this switch challenge is very key because this is a turning point in black male and female relations, that it's so easy for us to exchange sexuality. I'm talking about not exchange sexuality in terms of having sex, but I can become a woman as a man and you can become a man as a woman. See, the thing is, it was already a stuck culture in place. So it was so easy for you to already accept it because it was already there. It was already socially engineered to be here. So seeing the switch challenge was not, it was like, oh, you already see studs anyway, so it's normal. Same thing with the men. You already see men with women's clothes on, which for me is still crazy as hell. But, you know, that's not who we are naturally. But you've already seen cross-dressers. You've seen transsexuals. You've seen transgenders. So at the end of the day, this is not unnatural anymore because you're already seeing it. So how can you say, well, I mean, man, this is not cool, but you accepted the stud culture. You accepted flamboyant homosexuals. You accepted homosexuality on all levels. So how can you not say you don't accept the switch culture, the switch challenge? Because you look at it right now and you're not saying anything about it because you've been socially engineered to accept it. And it's right in front of your face. That shows that at the end of the day, that the Rockefellers has been able to accomplish their feat from silent weapons to quiet wars to be able to control your role as a man, as an African man, and as an African woman. And the fact that we are not able to see this says a lot about us as a people, that we're not able to look that, wow, we are actually being controlled. Our sex is being controlled. What clothes I put on, of course, has been controlled for years, from the fact that you buy Jordan's likeness and you put millions and millions of dollars into this one Negro, and every time you turn around, black people buy $200, $250 pairs of shoes. We do that every week, or every time a Jordan comes out, even though he hadn't played basketball in like 14 years, we still buy his stuff. Social engineering, Tavistock Institute of Human Relations. Okay? Buy that book. It's online, PDF file, because it talks about how you can buy a person's likeness, put money into millions of dollars that individual, and people will pump money into that situation. Doesn't matter. But again, we already accepted certain things as normal. They made you accept it. At first, they made you accept it in slavery. They made you accept a man being broken in and being effeminized. They made you accept black men going through pedophilia camps. Goodbye Uncle Tom reveals this. Little black boys being sold into pedophilia camps, being painted based upon their price, from silver to gold. They made you accept, they forced it on you. Now you do it willingly. You don't care about the B4U Act, where they can basically come in with a law saying that a 40, 45-year-old, 50-year-old man can basically come in and say, wow, hey, I'm not a pedophile. I don't, I'm not bad. I'm just attracted to minors. So I'm not wrong, am I? As long as I don't act on it, right? So you don't really care because, hey, as long as it had nothing to do with me, but then if it happens to another child, then you think about it for a little bit. Then you go right back to being socially engineered because that's what you are, because you refuse to get out of it. But anyway, again, the whole thing about engineering is you start small, because I have to hit that group on a small level first. I have to get you to accept something on a small level. Then if I can get you to accept it on a small level, then when the big stuff comes, you won't even flash. That's what I mean by shock value. Shock value is the same thing. It's the same. It's like if you look at the movie Clockwork Orange. That was shock therapy, where they, the whole purpose of that movie is to put a man on the ground, put a man on the table and make him see things, because he was a violent white man. This is in the 70s. Look at the movie, and they tried to convert him from being, violent to being benevolent. That was what they called at that time, shock therapy, by just constantly showing you some images in your brain. That's a form of shock therapy. And it's the same thing in Sonic Weapons for Quiet Wars, is that the shock therapy is just constantly showing you the same thing repeatedly. Shock therapy is the Kardashians. Shock therapy is Love and Hip Hop, where on that show, that's social engineering, because you have, even on, I'm not sure which one it was, there was two black men as a gay couple on that show. So you're being, again, they have to make sure that they renew the engineering in your mind. That if you say, I reject homosexuality, or no, you don't, we're going to get you to accept it. Because it's about we say so. Clockwork Orange, Julian, it's called Clockwork Orange. It's an old movie by a man named, trying to remember, I forgot the director's name, Stanley Kubrick. Look up Stanley Kubrick and Clockwork Orange, and you'll find that movie I'm talking about. It should be online, I think, on YouTube. But yeah, the thing is now, these are ways, again, black people are basically a group on a measuring stick. It's like a car, as I always say. When you stop a car and you don't know why, let's say your car is about to break down and you're trying to find out what's going on with the oil. So you have a measuring stick. So you stick that oil in that pan to find out how much oil is left, and you have to measure exactly how much you got to put in. Same thing with black people. The Rockefellers and Rothschilds and the rest, 13 bloodlines, are constantly putting us, we're that measuring stick that, it's a measuring stick that we're that oil that they put in to see exactly how far they have to go to re-engineer us mentally. And it constantly happens all over, all the time, that we just, again, the brother last week asked, what is the solution? You turn the television off, period. Dr. Wellstein talked about turn the television off and pick up a book. You understand what I'm saying? We don't at least get to that elementary level of just turn the television off. Stop thinking that the social engineering that's going on is harmless, because you turn that shock value off that you call a television show. Next thing you know, you go outside and you see certain things as alien in the black community, you just walk right by it. You got two studs walking around with each other, and they're together, two studs. I thought this was supposed to be homosexual. Anyway, yet their natural, talking about studs, their natural role as an African woman has been reversed, and they can flip whenever they feel like it. This is white people anyway. They've been doing this for years. The lesbian culture in white society, in the white race, is the same way. So what black women have been mirrored in the United States has nothing but mirrored white women back in ancient Rome. That's why a lot of cultures call America ancient Rome, because sexually we're mirroring what Rome was back in the ancient times of ancient Rome. Roger L. Nash said, if can't turn the TV off, at least be selective and discerning. Exactly. The problem is when you're socially engineered, Rondrell, you have no idea how to discern what's right and what's not. It's the same thing as even if you just say, I'm just going to watch the news, you're still being socially engineered to accept a perspective. That's a tool. The greatest weapon right now in white supremacy is that media. Because even if you're on the news and you're just watching the news just to get informed of what's going on, you're still being socially engineered to see, just say this specific group in, let's say, Bosnia or Syria. Because again, Barack was trying to, right now trying to pull out of Syria, but yet Trump is now president-elect, and he's carrying on containment, from something, it was a policy containment was a policy that was created by the by the Rockefellers, after they bought the United States as a corporation back in 1927. So the containment process is something that they've been doing to foreign countries for decades, almost 100 years now. And so what Trump is doing is just basically, redoing the plan of containment. It's just every president and cabinet has that they do every time. So you have to just pay attention. So now Trump is now going into Syria, and that's news that we not paying. Thing is, you have to discern when you watch news. Just get the information that you see going on. But if you sit long enough, you're being engineered to see something a certain type of way, and that's going to be a problem for you, because most of us don't know how to discern. And that's the thing. That was a good question. That was a good statement he made. Roger made in terms of discernment. We don't know how to decode. We don't know how to, even looking at, as I said earlier, a movie and decode, we just look at it as entertainment. Nothing is just entertainment. Everything is meant to influence. That's why certain movies have a big budget. It's meant to stir a certain emotion in you. That's like when you watch movies like Terminator and Rocky and RoboCop and all this other bullshit. It's meant to stir an emotion that the white man is super. When you watch movies like Superman, Batman, all these Avenger movies, you'll have the small black character as the token Negro, but for the most part, the superheroes are white. So you get big budget super white man movies to socially engineer white people as God over you. It's the whole point of it. So you cannot escape white supremacy regardless of how you try to dive around it and sift around it, still being controlled by what they say you should see white males and white females as. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to get to a point. Yeah, they control the frequency. Because they control Olori said they control the frequency. Because they're able to tap into a certain frequency that they've been controlling for years. They were able to go, as my father, Dr. York, talked about, the beat and the rhythm of music. This is just side conversation, but it's still social engineering. That even if you're listening to certain music, that this also goes back to a man named John Todd. Go online and look up John Todd, that connected what my father talked about in terms of controlling the sound and the frequency of the music, regardless of what it is. You're still being controlled by the frequency. And John Todd talked about how the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati was putting certain spells and certain satanic rituals over masters of the music that was being put out at the time. This is stuff that you can go online and look up yourself. But this is something that we have to, as a solution, again, turn off the television. Sometimes just turn off YouTube, or make sure that what you're looking at on YouTube is something that is conducive to getting away from white supremacy and getting away from being socially engineered to accept things like this. So all these things are very important when we start to be able to break the spell. And a lot of us are not really interested in breaking the spell. We're just trying to not die. And we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to not catch the next bullet. We're just trying not to be, we don't care what happens to our group, our race as Africans. We just don't want to die. So we're not trying to actually be solution-oriented people. That's why what happened this past week with, the whole debate thing, we're playing right into their hands. We don't understand that they're looking at the things that we're doing, and they're like, okay, it's right back to the measuring stick again. You got these niggas going back and forth about capital. At the end of the day, it was about money. And they're looking around like, wow, these slaves have not learned. They have not learned yet. And that's crazy. So I'm going to, go into the questions within the line as well, and then also on Facebook Live. Olori Man said they allowed movies to come out They control what we see to balance how we accept and adjust. It becomes a stimulus. Yeah, it's a stimuli. That's the whole point of movies. Movies are stimuli. And within the stimuli is a message. Every movie has a message to it. Even if it's a cartoon, there's a message to it. Thing is, when we don't know what it means, again, it's about decoding. You know, KTDR's degree should not be the only one decoding shows and movies, etc., and even music. Is that we have to be the ones responsible, because our children are the one being influenced by this. Our children are the one being influenced by homosexuality. Our children are the one being influenced by horrifying hip-hop music, which at one point was supposed to be a God frequency of black rebellion, and now it's literally killing us. The frequency and exactly what they're doing, because now you have more homosexual black men being the lead rappers. You got stud black women being the lead rappers too. So that means that your race, that your music is now the reflection of the learned elders of Zion. Think about it. At one point, alpha males was all over the place in rap. From Rakim to KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane, Kool G Rap, all these rappers talking about knowledge of self. And now you got studs and you got studs and homosexual femme black men controlling hip hop. So your part of your culture has been compromised. Bimmy Mystique said, and they don't show truth in the movies. The Gods of Egypt. Yeah, and that's the funny thing is with Gods of Egypt, depending on the time frame, because Gods of Egypt can be based on the Hyksos dynasty. But the problem is when they don't be specific on the time. Remember, Old Kingdom and Kemet, Old Kingdom and New Kemet, Old Kingdom and New Kingdom of Ancient Kemet was Black African. They were Nubians. But when the New Kingdom came in, that's when things began to basically more or less reflect the mixture, the admixture of the mulattoes. And so the Hyksos began to be more of a reflection during the New Kingdom coming in after Kathmos and Athmos re-established what Nubia was in Kemet. Yeah, assassination of our music. And this was all socially engineered to do so. So there's a lot of things that we need to do to recapture what we need to do as a people. But on an elementary level, we have to stop being so influenced by certain things. And when we see our people being influenced to change their clothes, a man put on a woman clothes, a woman put on a man clothes, that is insanity. That group is insane mentally. I'm not worried about no other race but black people. But the reality is that this is something that we as black people need to look at and say, it's time for us to look at what was going on with this group that you see putting on different clothes, changing their sexual roles, because we already changed our sexual roles within our family, but now it's now being seen for the whole world to see it, that the African race is still being conquered physically and sexually in America. Bimmy Mystique said, they make our deities seem malevolent. Yeah, they do. You know, we just have to be the ones responsible for teaching our children. That's all it is. Roger and Nash said they are doubling down with the Amunet movie. I need to find out about an Amunet movie. I've never heard about it. But yeah, I'm gonna go into the hold on a second, fam. I'm still here. I just need to go into the chat room. All right, so I'm back. Does anyone have any questions? You can have questions in the chat room, and you also on Facebook Live. So I can, if you type in a question, I can do it on 9 My Radio on Facebook Live, and also on the conference call. So anyone on the conference call got questions, you can bring it, or on Facebook Live. Either way. Let's see. I don't think anyone has any questions on the 9 My Radio conference call, but Olari Man said they did hip hop the way they did the Black Panthers. Yeah. Because remember, if you notice, hip hop came out right after the destruction of Black Panthers, 1973, and the Black Panther movement was officially destroyed. The Black Power movement was officially destroyed in 1975. and with the MK Ultra manipulation of Huey P. Newton. A lot of people don't know that, but these are things that we need to pay attention to. When you look at situations like, again, Switch Challenge, that's social engineering on a very demonic level, that you can control a race, and that's the reality. So that's the situation we gotta deal with. So let me see what Kimmy Ray told my man said. The conscious lecture will become what hip hop has become: gangbanging. Those guys helping set the stage for someone to get shot. Then it will go from debating to warring physically against each other. You're right. To see what I saw Sunday, when I just got finished looking at it. Well, I saw it yesterday. The back and forth at the debate in Harlem. I think my little brother Ramesses, you know him as Prince. He tried to answer some questions, and the Hebrew Israelite. I mean, they've been gunning from the Wapians for years, so it's like whatever. But he didn't answer the question the way they wanted him to, and then they tried to get violent. And the next thing you know, another fight break out, and other people jumped up because people were mad because they didn't get what they wanted. People were paid to see a lecture, and people don't show up for it, and so anger was already there. That's just reality, man. Anger was already there. Next thing you know, one thing leads to another. These are all these things. I keep saying is that when we fight, they see it. Whites see it. You keep thinking that, oh well, we're not being seen. No, you are being seen. Everything that you're doing is being shown. We're being studied like lab rats on a deeper level. So anytime you see any form of quarrels with black people, that's like being telecast. Just know every race can see where we are. Yeah, Monica, that was horrible. It was like I didn't even want to look at it. I didn't want to look at that because it was like, wow, this is a reflection of us as a people. When you see us go back and forth like that, damn near about to fight each other over a debate, we got to get it together because we're dealing with black genocide and we're not even trying to deal with that. We got to get it together on a deeper level because we're being controlled by capital, which is still social engineering because capital don't really mean nothing without the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve, you know where that goes, back to Africa. So at the end of the day, we're being socially engineered while they're taking our resources. And so the reflection of social engineering and the hatred we have for each other, because the religion, ideologies, and organizations don't mean shit if all of us are still going through the same problems. Because my thing is about peace. I don't have no beef or no qualms with nobody. I don't. So at the end of the day, if we're not really paying attention to what's really going on and what we're putting out for everyone else to see, then it's going to continue to be very easy for us to be exterminated. Black genocide will continue on us if we continue to keep quarreling with each other over trivial things. Olori Man said they have in their procession the power to control the masses, and it's an extraterrestrial tool. They're using it to serve the dark forces. It was given to them from these beings. It's heavy. Yeah, it is. It is. And so if you look and you go back to, let's say, I always tell people go back to the Dogons of Mali, that they have a certain priest out there. I can't remember his name now, but he has certain connections to reptilians, from Aldebaran. And it's funny because Credo Mutwa, look up Credo Mutwa, and he has the bones in certain caves of extraterrestrials out there, and this is on YouTube. It's on you. I'm not sure if they still have them up there, but I know for a fact a year ago I was looking at that, and he had the evidence of extraterrestrials that the Dogon had made contact with thousands of years ago, and they had the bones. And so you have whites, males that come out there to try to control his connection to these extraterrestrials, and they've been doing it for years. So a lot of things that my father was talking about and teaching about for years, they're being confirmed by other people. Just want to put that out there. So does anyone have any? I'm here if anyone has any questions. I don't think it's gonna be any, like I said, on a conference call, but I'm here on Facebook Live. See what time is it? Oh, 8:16. Got 15 more minutes. But a Lori man said we're being socially engineered. Yes, and that's it. Yeah, social engineering is real. But again, I want you all, and I'm going to refer. I think I'm going to cut it short now. I don't want to kill it, but I'm going to refer you all to look up Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. It's online. It's only 30 pages. 30 pages back and forth. And then they have Tavistock Institute of Human Relations. That's actually free for PDF. It's a big file because it's like 280 pages long. But if you find a way to print out or just download it, it's a lot of information on social engineering against African people. Just pay attention to it, and you're able to connect and reconnect to exactly what's going on now and how they're able to control the masses through the media and through currency and get a certain amount of our people to do certain things. So again, for those that go back to and read and listen to this again, these are two books that I'm referring to. I got a lot of my information from, so Alori Mann said they described Sirius B long before we could see it through the Kepler telescope. Yeah, exactly. Sirius B, the last of A, B, and C Sirius constellations. Dog Star is the one that's left, which is Sirius B, and that's the one that they say that their ancestors came from someplace else, the Dogon, the Namos, or the reptilian humanoid African seed. And again, this is stuff that's being confirmed. So I have to keep talking about it just to keep reinstilling what's being said now. So, because the whites, just to give you an idea, the whites that are using Credo Mutwa, they're trying to make connections to the Aldebaran star constellation, or the Pleiadians, to be more specific. The Pleiadians, who are the Ashtar command, they want connection to them again. So, just to give you an idea. Peace, Alori. Yeah, so no questions. I will be shutting down. I'll be saying Hotep, Black Power, peace, and Wadu.